Class 2. Any questions from last week? Anything we should discuss? We went over the 10 paramitas. Do we remember some of them? Do you remember? I'll write on the board real quick, just so all our friends can learn. Which ones do you remember?
Patience.
Thank you. Great. Patience. Me too. I understand. These are the 10 paramitas, or 10 perfections of the heart. So 10 different meditation things you can do to help bring the energy. No, it's not supposed to be a black heart. Anyways. That's good. 10 different qualities, 10 different things you can work on to help make the energy of the heart open. And if the energy is more in the heart, then it's less up here for all of our mental obscurations, mental poisons, all the brooding, worrying, pensiveness, desires, aversions, all that stuff. So patience is one of them. Anyone else?
Loving kindness.
Thank you. Good one. Loving kindness. Any others? I heard equanimity. Somebody was thinking equanimity. One of you were thinking.
We were all thinking it.
Yeah. Where you keep equanimity. Keep the mind still, you know? Choppy waters, still it, so you can plumb the depths of the moment. You can really be present.
Is forgiveness one of them?
Not really in that term. It's probably captured in like a loving kindness exercise. We'll be doing that on our 4th week. When we do meditation, we'll do a loving kindness one, and we'll talk about forgiveness. How about energy cultivating, bringing the energy into the core? You do a practice to, you may take, like you may fast a half day a week or a day a week, or you may take some time in silence so you can help bring the energy inside.
Morality.
Thank you, great one. Yeah, doing things for the betterment of society or for the culture around you.
Detachment?
You got it. Well said. Renunciation.
Renunciation.
Yes. Good. We're getting there. Letting go of things that don't serve you. You'll see this. Your patients, I commented on that last week, certainly will. They'll let go of certain elements when they're ready. And you, as best, can be their, partner in that journey. Any others?
Truthfulness?
Yes. Good one. Truthfulness. All different things help open the heart. Truthfulness. I'm starting to slow down here with them too. Generosity.
Persistence.
Yes, determination. Good one. Nice. You got farther along than I did. This is the one we shall work on. If this is the one none of us can remember. This is our one for today. Starts with a W. It happens if you keep doing something again and again, and you eventually figure it out. Because
Wisdom.
Thank you. Keep hearing different interpretations of how to do things. Hear some insights about meditation from me, or some practice management from this class, or some patient care from this class. Get some from Dr. Chu, get some from Dr. Zhang, get some, Benny Lin, all that. There's so many teachers who just keep getting information, and you kind of digest it, and you have your own wisdom that comes from it. So the practice we did last week was we just would bring our attention to our heart, try to review each of these, like see them kind of coming into our heart, and if one is resonating or staying there, then just to pause with that. That's the type of practice. So what I wanted to shift gears to today is this one. What's this all about? The mind. These are called the 5 kleshas. Kleshas. 5 mental poisons. Or mental obscurations, or mental confusions. They're basically 5 different states of mind that take you out of your heart. If you've got 70% here, then there's 30% there. You know, 70% for the mind, 30, then 30% for the heart. If you can say, hey, maybe I get this to 60, and this will go to 40. You know? So you try to work with the practice. You don't necessarily meditate on these, but you do think on these to say, oh, I'm observing myself. This is coming up in whatever element of my life. Okay, I understand this. That's this energy, and I'm trying to work on this energy, so let me kind of let go of that one and start focusing, being more here. And a lot of these are opposites. And it's very interesting because even in Chinese medicine, we talk about 5 elements. 5 kleshas. If one of the elements is out of balance, you have disharmony in the body. You know? We try to seek to have balance in all 5. So we have obviously the fire, earth, metal, water, wood. We'll go through those. So number 1, this concept of desire, grasping something, wanting something. I really, really want this for myself. It's kind of the opposite of generosity. You know? It's almost, for some of you who are very visual, imagine like, you know, here's a graph, and this is X. You know, it's just like, I'm right here in the present moment. People who tend to desire things all the time are always, I want more, so something greater than X. They're always in the future. I forget right now. I just want this. I need something more, you know? I need this car. Oh, this car's okay. How, you know, this person, it's insatiable. See it in my children, you know? It's like, I want a toy. And they're like, I just want that toy. And just give me that toy. You know, and then you give them the toy, and you think you're going to be great. 2 minutes later, toy is totally forgotten about. And they're wanting something else. And it's just this hunger, insatiable, as you all know. So that's this concept greater than X. That's desire energy. That's a very wood characteristic. Someone has a wood imbalance. Grasping. That's what wood does. It'll crack through cement. A little plant will come through cement and gain life. So, yeah. The opposite. Aversion. And these are basically, most of our aversions are based on how our preconceived ideas from the past. Oh no, I don't like this because in the past I saw something like this and I don't like it. I'm not open to things. I'm being very black and white with my thinking. There's no gray areas in life. That's a very metal energy. When someone has a metal imbalance, they have difficulty letting go. You hear about that one. They stay with these concepts of grief. You know, they have difficulty letting go of something. They're so stuck in the past. You know, in the past. Less than X, something in the past. Then there's this concept of delusion. Muddied thinking. They're not present because their mind's all over the place with different thoughts, you know? This is like a very earth imbalance. Someone who broods, like, why am I thinking about the same thing again and again? You know? Like I've had this conversation 3 times today, and about an average, 15 times a day for the last, 12 years. And it's the same thoughts going through our heads, brooding, overly pensive, worrier. Those are all earth imbalance. And so they tend to have weak digestions, they tend to be overweight, or they'll have loose stool, or poor metabolism, or low energy, or weakened immune system, or they'll bruise easily. They'll also have poor concentration, poor memory, varicose veins. They could have hemorrhoids. These are all Chinese medicine 101 of what happens with a spleen disharmony or earth imbalance. And, sorry guys, study, if you do a lot of mental labor, it's a little tough on the spleen. That's how it goes. So, as best you can when you're in your studies here, try to balance your time with sitting for 4 hours or 8 hours, and then go for a good hike in nature. Have some balance. Go for a yoga class. Do your Tai Chi practice. Go garden. Whatever works for you. Play the piano. So delusion almost is like, they're like, oh no, I'm right here. But it's almost like the reflection. Like they're looking at something in the water. They're not really seeing it clearly. How many times have friends come to you and they tell you their problem? And you're like, and it's so easy for you to give advice because you're not so stuck in it. That's the delusion energy. That's the earth imbalance. Puts you up here and away from here. So I don't know. That's like x to, no. We'll call it 1 over x. These are all different permutations of x, by the way, for mathematicians out there. Okay, so that's 1 over x. 4 would be like a arrogance or pride. This is like a heart imbalance, fire imbalance. That's arrogance, of pride. I'm so great. They come in here and it's like you ever see fire? Wind starts to swirl. That's wind is the parent of fire, right? It helps stoke it. You'll see this in your practice. Patients will come with fire imbalance, and everybody will know they're there. You'll know they're there. The front desk will know you're there. The other practitioners in your office will know they're there. All the patients in the office knows that person's there because their energy is like, hey, so fire. And that's fire. An energy of fear. Yes. Is there a question?
Oh, I
No.
just need.
Oh, sweet. Bless you.
Okay, thank you.
And the opposite of that is fire, water. This is like the envy, jealous. They have so much more, I don't get enough, you'll hear this, patients coming in your office. And they'll be like, oh my gosh, you're such a great dresser. I never know what to do. Oh, your hair looks so great. They're always paying compliments, but you can tell also they're really also, they're kind of taking little digs at themselves and they're putting themselves down. I would start right on the kidney bladder channel with them. You don't have to have much more. There's definitely some energy in that person with that. They'll have weakened voices. They'll be, the kidney energy is weak. So, I don't know, that's right here, so small. So, I don't know, this one maybe is x to some power, and this is x to, I don't know, fraction of power, which is kind of like the square root of x, if you guys remember. Those are all the different things you can do with x. X can be more, can be less, can be 1 over it, can be some power, or some fraction of a power. At least from my understanding of math from some years back. That's the 5 elements. These are the 5 mental obscurations. So when you find yourself, and I find myself personally engaging in these all the time, I try year after year to recognize them and, but don't put so much weight on them. Some of your great desires, maybe they're not so important. Some of these, the arrogances we have, the aversions we have, the misunderstanding of things, the envious of other things. Especially this town, envy, because it's like, oh, a celebrity, like a good actor. I'm a good actor. You know, something like this. And that's just a tricky one. But I'll never forget I had it. In your office, you'll have, most like if you're in LA, you'll probably have some celebrities that you work with. And be careful of the things that you have in your office. I remember once we had someone come in years and years ago, and she was all bothered because paparazzi was following her. And I was like, oh yeah, that's so terrible. You know, paparazzi's following you. That's so awful. Like, I'm so sorry. You know? And then I looked down at our table in the reception area, and there's People magazine. I'm like, oh, okay, basically I'm in some way indirectly paying People magazine to go after you to take your photo. And now I'm also saying, oh, it's so terrible. So in your office, might I recommend, say no to those subscriptions, and they'll usually give it to you for free, especially when you have an office, and put in, you know, illuminating material in your office, you know, helpful articles about health and wellness, you know, art, nutrition, things like this. You don't need to put what you see in 80% of the medical offices, the same, you know, candy. And that also goes for candy. So that's just my little tip on practice management. Because after that I was like, yeah, these magazines are out. Let's get a Tricycle magazine. Tricycle. One of the few good magazines that I still really like. Or at least it has been good. So good. It's just interesting. I mean, you don't have to be Buddhist, but it just has some concepts of articles are quite well written. You know, pretty low in terms of advertising. You know, it's just a pretty good quality magazine. That's from like years ago. You guys have passed around. I don't work for Tricycle. And on the subject, I'll show off just for a moment some other books I think are quite good, just for if you guys like. This one I like a lot. It's called The Garden. It's written by Geisha Michael Roach. He's actually a Westerner who is ordained a geisha, which is a master's in Buddhism. It took him, and if you think your 4-year studies here are long, it was 22 years to get the master's degree in Buddhism. 22-year program. The Sarah May Tibetan Monastery. He got that title. Anyways, it's a very good book. It's a fiction story about someone who visits throughout his life a garden, and every time he visits, there's a apparition or a spirit of a major lineage holder in the Buddhist tradition that comes to him and gives the essence of his teachings. It's a good book. I like that one. This is a nice one too, Jack Kornfield, The Art of Forgiveness, Loving Kindness, and Peace. What I like about these books, as well as your piece, this was our course reading. I'll explain to you later. There's short little things, like a little vignette. Love begins in the smallest ways. With loving kindness we see with the heart. You know, the little moments you just read, like a paragraph or a page, and then you say, oh, and then you sit and practice. So sometimes for me, when I practice, I like to read just like a little something to get me in the space. And then you sit and practice. So that's a good one. And this one's obviously a great one. Same thing. It's not a story. It's just a bunch of the river feelings. Walking meditation when angry. Cooking our potatoes, the root of anger. Blaming never helps. Investing in friends. You know, basically interbeing. It's all different small little things to get you in the space as a meditation practitioner to be mindful. I guess I should have went in the same direction. See. A couple more. I don't want to forget to show you guys. Mudras. People sometimes ask, well, how am I supposed to practice? How am I supposed to sit? Physically, what am I supposed to do with my body? I would recommend, like I can see you're a pretty good example of that. If you're comfortable, great. But I try to tell people, if possible, keep the knees at hip level or lower. Not like this. Just because when we're like this, we tend to go like this with our back just to kind of balance the weight. and then all of a sudden I'm caving in, my heart isn't opening, I'm not really breathing so well. So if you can, fold that guy a few times so that, see how my hips now are at least, my knees are hip height, then I can roll back and sit more straight. Yeah. So some people like this, some people like just like that, some people like half lotus or full lotus, some people like this, or like this. Or I showed you, I think last week, like this. And if you have back issues, I have no problem with you sitting against the wall or sitting in a chair or standing up or laying down. Although there's an asterisk on laying down. The asterisk on that is about, usually when we're laying down, we get sleepy and we fall asleep. So that's my thought on that. But mudras is the hand gestures. Why would I practice like this versus this versus this versus this versus this? There's different theories on what these different hand gestures mean. Like the one that I was taught a lot, Dhyani Mudra. It's a gesture of meditation of contemplation. And there's some explanations of emptiness is brought into the mind, focus on the breathing, the concept of simply sitting. That's the book, and that mudra is more like this. I've heard it before. Male, the hand's on this. Women, the hand would be like this. I've also heard it reverse. I've also heard it doesn't matter. I'm a little bit of the it doesn't matter category. In fact, I don't really practice a lot like this. I usually just practice my hands in my lap. But sometimes like this. I just want to expose you guys, and then ultimately you try things and see what works for you. This is a nice book, an anthology of sacred poetry, The Enlightened Heart. So some of you who are poets likes to read about Kabir, William Blake, Khalib, Walt Whitman, etc. This is a nice one. And one of my earliest meditation teachers, her name was Jan Willis. I'll never forget one of her lessons. I'm glad I'm remembering this. I want to share this with you guys. I took her course in college. It was a Buddhism class. And she was this African-American woman with a great afro, grew up in the 50s, 40s, 50s, and 60s in like the South with, Ku Klux Klan burning crosses on her yard. Was a brilliant woman, is a brilliant woman, was very interested in Buddhism, was also wondering if she was going to go the whole Black Panther route in the 60s, decided to go to India instead, met these two teachers, Lama Yeshe and Lama Zopa, and she's a great teacher. I remember, one of the only things I remember in her class was after the first course, I wanted to take like 2 or 3 others with her, and she was going on sabbatical. And I was bummed because by the time she'd get back, I'd be graduating. And I ran into her in the mail like in a post office. I said, Jan, I just found out you're going on sabbatical. I really enjoyed your course. I was really hoping to take some of your other classes in Buddhism. And she says, and she looked at me with these eyes and she's like, you're so bummed, but I'm so happy. I'm going on sabbatical. And I just had this moment, I was like, oh, there's the teaching. I get so caught up with my own tiny little world that I missed the whole morality concept of how much joy this woman was going to receive by taking a break. I remember that. Anyways, this is a book about her 2 teachers and their basic teachings of like Buddhist wisdom energy. And I got so much peace, like just getting out of my upsetness. I found I was so much happiness. Like in that concept of like selfless service. You know, sometimes if you do something selfless service, help someone else, great joy comes up. In fact, it's sometimes one of the best ways to help ourselves and help our patients is just let's get engaged in selfless service. One of the best ways to stop worrying about yourself is to stop worrying about yourself. You know, put your mind on others. So that's some of our lecture this morning. Any questions about the 5 kleshas? Not so much. You're always welcome to share. I want to shift gears then, and I want to introduce the meditation practice we're going to do now, okay? So I got to erase this board for a moment. Some of you who are further along in your studies, you've probably heard of the yin-qi cycle. We're going to go over it for a moment, and I hope it'll be interesting to you. You'll get teachings on this in other courses, and this is one, sampling of this. Yin-qi cycle is what we're going to meditate on now. Not Wei-qi, W-E-I, which is the protective qi on the surface of the body. This is yin-qi, how the nutritive energy moves in the body and keeps our internal organs healthy and keeps our body healthy. So the way it works, it goes on the surface from the lung, which is our first quarter students, to the liver, which is our last quarter students. Remember we talked about that last week, right? So it goes from most superficial lung, our intestine, stomach, spleen. Yeah, that's the first circuit. That's 4. This is all about they call it self-survival. You physically breathing and eating with your digestion to keep that vessel alive. It has nothing to do with how creative you are as an individual. It has nothing to do with your unique spirit. It has nothing to do with how you interrelate with other beings. It's just your vehicle. It's your vessel. It's your spacesuit that you're wearing to keep you alive, embodied. That's the first circuit. And people who grew up not really sure if they would, feeling so secure that their self-survival was being was safe, often will have issues in these organs. That's not uncommon. People who weren't sure, if they'd be hungry, if when or where they'd be living, where there's physical dangers around them. This a lot of times is where their ailments lie. Second circuit moves into the heart, small intestine, urinary bladder, kidney. This is the second circuit of 4 elements. Right? This is about self-awareness. You are aware of your unique gift, your light, not related to others' lights, your mission, your purpose, what's in your heart, what's in your kidneys. Your kidneys like your drive, your willpower, your self-esteem, your courage. When you look at things again, which is kind of what the small intestine does, you first eat it, you digest it, and you look at it again. How do I feel about things? How do I feel about things? Bladder, excrete things. That doesn't work for me. That doesn't resonate for me. It's about bladder. Third circuit goes into pericardium, Sanjiao, gallbladder. This one is not about your physical body. It's not about your unique spirit. It's about, we call it self-differentiation. Differentiation. This is how your spirit, the health of your spirit in terms of its understanding how it interrelates with all beings. Some people may call it your neurologic, because liver gallbladder is like neurologic issues. Pericardium is like the wrapping around your heart, or maybe it's the wrapping around all of our hearts. Maybe our unique individual emotional experiences of the heart, but how our heart bleeds when mankind is having troubles. Pericardium issues. I always think about that, like, think about if you hug a tree, what touches the tree is the pericardium channel. That kind of makes that connection, that bond with another or nature. That's the third circuit. So this one, I'm sorry to say, it's not for the mind to understand, and I'm not going to be really able to. It's the spirit. Body, mind, spirit. Call it that if you like. In fact, this one, you're supposed to be unconscious for. Right? We go through the hours here. 3 to 5 a.m., 5 to 7, 7 to 9, 9 to 11, I'll explain what this is, 11 to 1 p.m., 1 to 3, 3 to 5, 5 to 7, 7 to 9, 9 to 11, 11 to 1 a.m., 1 to 3 a.m., and then you breathe, you repeat. The theory is this is one of the ways you get to 140 years of life, is you abide by a Taoist nature way of living. You don't have synthetic lights or computers or iPads or phones that kind of trick the brain 24/7 to thinking that it's like noon. You know, because lights, like, although I guess now that even Mac has like developed nighttime, the screen changes from like a blue light to an orange light or whatever it is. No, that's what I say about that one. You can't get away from it. The sun is way too clever and magical for our minds to think of, oh, it's just orange and blue light. It's not like that. It's much more than that. So what am I talking about here? Well, theoretically, you're supposed to get up sometime depending on the year, because the sun changes depending on the year. Sometimes it gets raises earlier, sometimes it raises later in the day. But depending on part of the year, you get up between 3 and 5 and you start doing something to get the lungs moving. Maybe you do chanting. Maybe you do pranayama, or also not breathing, pranayama, or do sun salutations. You're praying that the sun will soon rise. Ashtanga yoga practice, you're supposed to practice first thing in the morning, not midday, not in the afternoon, not in the evening. That's restorative times. First thing in the morning is when you're supposed to go for your run. Get the lungs going. Or definitely praying and chanting. You hear that. I remember in India seeing that. Ashrams, middle of the night, people are chanting, trying to open up the lung energy. Then you're supposed to have your bowel movement first thing in the morning. Every morning, 7 days a week. That's the major time to eliminate from the body. Become pure so the energy is fresh. Then your main meal is breakfast. Asian Culinary Theory 101 is breakfast is largest, lunch is moderate, dinner is light. That's how it goes. There's no Western acceptance of, well, I'm really busy, so I'm going to have some coffee, maybe I'll have some toast, and come dinner time, I'm going to have this like massive meal, like meat and like liquor and carbs, and I want a dessert, We wonder why we don't sleep. It's like you're really run down, now you just pound it on your gut, and your gut's already weak because it's the end of the day and you're tired, all this food, and you're saying, now you deal with it. You break this down and give me energy tomorrow. So the body says, okay, so you have a bad night's rest, and your adrenals get weak. And that's how it goes. So if you don't have time to make a good meal in the morning, make it the night before. Make a stew. Chinese medicine loves, rice porridge. Rice and veggies, stew it. Can last a few days. Indian culture, same thing. Dal, lentils. You can make it. It gets better as the days passed. Curries. Veggie, grains, simple organic ingredients, and you stay away from, you know, in this culture, which is already like city and it's already hot and it's already, you know, dry, a lot of meat products is not really, if we lived in a very cold environment, you got to do a lot of physical labor, then yeah, you need more fat. You need more fat and you need more yang energy. It's already so yang here, so dry, it's so hot. We need more yin energy. You need more like the veggies. And if you want to do some meat, then fish, which is more at least cooling. As a general overarching statement about diet in LA. Anyways, Rakus is largest. Then spleen, which also governs the mind and your muscles. If you do physical or mental labor, this is when you get engaged in it. That's when the epicenter of that happens. And then after, you can still do some more, but after, you know, and the heart energy starts to move into more, less thinking about it, more it just kind of comes from your heart. It's like for those, I like this example, you know, some of us who've like taken some of the exams here, say like Redmond, you know, has these like, exams are like so many pages. At first you're like, holy cow, it's like a book. Okay, number one. And then as you start going a little bit, you're in the flow. It could be another 10 more pages for all I care. You're in it. You're absorbed into it. You know, same thing like you go running. You're running like, I'm gonna do 10 miles. I'm exhausted after like 2 seconds. But then after you get in it and it starts opening up, then you could just keep going and going and going. That's the heart energy. You moved into the heart. And then, kind of this concept of, say you're a filmmaker and you shoot 20 hours of film, you know? Then you start to look at the film. It goes to the editing department to look at it. That's what small intestine does. It looks at the food. It looks at the day's experience, either physically or intellectually. And it reviews it, digests it a second time. A lighter meal, perhaps. And then, now you're moving out of the peak of yang and starting to get a little bit more yin, and you start to eliminate. That's where you start, the editing says, you know, this 20-hour footage, I'm going to edit this into a 15-second commercial. So I got to really eliminate like 99% of this. And that's what happens with the bladder, is you just start eliminating things. That the day's ending, you start putting away the books, you know, you start putting away stuff, and you start doing some of the things that balance out your life. In the yin, this is when you, again, start doing restorative energy, maybe a yin restorative yoga practice, not hot yoga at this point. Maybe something very restorative, some light stretching, light conversation, a little light walk, you know. And then theory is, Chinese medicine, you go to sleep somewhere in here, 7 to 9 p.m. Sounds really early, and it does sound to me too, but that's how. But you'd be surprised, you know, when we have like blackouts, you know, and there's no light, or you go camping. I mean, like that first day, you go to sleep earlier. Like you go camping, we all go to sleep at like 8 or 9 o'clock at night. You don't stay up till like midnight or 1 in the morning. It's like there's no light, so the body can adapt. It's just we're used to this every day. We don't go camping every day. Anyways, so something you can think about is when you're with your patients, when you find out, you ask them the question, when do you go to sleep? And they tell you, you know, 11:30, or they tell you 1:30. Now, don't say go from 1:30 to 8 or 1:30 to 10. That's just totally unreasonable. But you might say, hey, you know, instead of 1:30, where you're actually getting to sleep, you're only getting part of this liver unconscious. Really throwing these all out of balance. Can we work on 12:30? Can we just knock it back an hour? Go to sleep at 12:30 instead of 1:30? So at least you'll get all liver and you'll get a little bit of gallbladder as well. Just that, you'll see some health improvements. Or same thing, they say 12:30 or 11:30. Can we hit 10:30? Just take me back an hour. Try to go to bed by 10:30. Now you're in this one. So ideally, we're supposed to be unconscious for these 8 hours. And what happens? Well, perhaps this is where we reconnect with all spirits, you know, from a spirit level. Sanjiao is also kind of like where we clean out, like our body has a chance to process all the experience of the day and just flush or reset, unwind. I like this analogy. We're all here now. Later today, we leave, and later today, some janitor comes through and vacuums it, and cleans the board, and I don't know, chucks some things, takes out the trash, stuff like this. And it's really important he or she does that. That's what a sand job is all about. If he or she didn't do that, like over time, this place gets really gnarly. We can't come here anymore because it's not being maintained. Sand job is like your lymphatics. What lymphatics is, it cleans out the tissue. Gallbladder, same thing. Helps the process on a spirit level. And when you think about like a gallbladder, the channel goes down the sides of the body. It's like if we were all just sardines in a sardine can, side by side to each other. That's how we interrelate with all beings. That's the gallbladder. We're unconscious. This is the spirit healing. And the liver is like, it's in the middle of the body. So you just take that can of sardines and you just mix it all up. That's really who we are with each other. We're all interunited, interdependent, arising. Anyways, and it begins again. That's my interpretation. So I want to just meditate on this for a little bit, if that's okay. Any questions on that one? A little far out? It's okay? So that's a lot. But what we're going to do is, we're going to do a meditation practice now. Take a few moments to find a comfortable seated posture. Scan the body for any tension. Offer some breath to help the body to relax. Slowly come into your breath. Slowly inhale, slowly exhale. Let go of all thoughts. Let go of emotions. All the mental obscurations. Find your way to your breath. Slowly inhale, slowly exhale. We'll start by bringing the energy into our lungs. We'll feel the energy moving from our lungs through the lung channel, which goes over the shoulders, bilateral, both sides, right and left. Comes down the biceps, the forearms, into the thumbs, terminating at the tip of the thumb. And the energy moves to our pointer finger, or our second digit. where it connects with the large intestine channel. And the energy moves back through the hand, the forearm, elbow, upper arms, shoulders, neck, throat, face, and terminates near the nose. And the energy moves to the stomach channel. So feel the energy around the eyes. Feel the stomach channel moving through the cheeks to the side of the head. Try to feel it on both sides of the body. And feel the energy moving through the throat, clavicles, collarbone, down the chest, down the abdomen, to the pubic bone, lateral to the sides, down the thighs, the knees, lower legs, top of the feet, and out to the second toe. Feel the energy moving to the big toe, the beginning of the spleen channel. Feel the energy coming up to the arch, lower leg, knees, front of the legs, thighs, through the pelvis. Feel the energy moving to the abdomen. And coming to rest, side of the rib cage, the flank of the body, both sides. That's the first circuit. Helping our body with movement, arms moving, legs moving, physical body. And feel the energy moving from the spleen to the heart channel. So move the energy from the sides, the flanks, into the heart. Moving up to the armpits. Down the biceps, medial side, the soft side of the skin, inner arm, elbow, forearm on the ulnar side. To the wrist and out to the pinky fingers. And moving the energy from the heart to the small intestine, staying at the pinky finger and coming back up the wrist, forearms to the elbows, up the triceps, the back of the arms, shoulders, out to the shoulder blades, upper back, the neck, ears, eyes, energy moving to the eyes, urinary bladder channel, the energy moving to the inner canthus, the eyes, near the nose, bilateral, coming to the eyebrows, inner sides, the forehead, going to the scalp, the top of the head, down the back of the head.
back of the neck, down the neck, upper back, mid back, low back, sacrum, pelvis, buttocks, down the back of the legs, hamstrings, back of the knees, down the back of the lower legs, gastrocnemius, soleus. Coming to the ankles, lateral ankles, outer ankles, and down to the little pinky toes. Fifth toe, fifth digit of the toe. Slowly breathing. Moving to the bottom of the foot, the sole of the foot, the kidney channel. Then coming up the arch again. The medial side or the inner side of the ankle, medial malleolus. Coming up the inner leg, like the seam of the pants on the inside, the knees, inside thighs, to the pelvis, the pubic bone, the tailbone. And then feeling the energy come up midline, the abdomen, pretty close to midline, just lateral to the midline. Bilateral, 2 lines. Abdomen, coming to the chest, coming up to the throat, and resting at the collarbone. And that's the end of the second circuit, self-awareness. Finally, moving to the last set of 4, moving the energy to our pericardium, back to our heart, and this time the wrapping around the heart. Feeling the energy coming to our pecs or to our chest, coming down the arms, forearms, inner wrist or palms, and terminating at our 3rd digit, middle fingers, bilateral. And moving to our 4th digit, ring fingers, Sanjiao channel, moving back up the channel, this time on the outer back of the hands, forearms, elbows, to our upper arm, shoulders, neck, throat, ears, around the ears, coming to rest of the ears. Now switching to the gallbladder channel, visualizing the energy in the side of the head, sides of the neck, shoulders. Lateral to the chest, sides, the flanks, down the hips, TFL, tensor fascial latte, also on the side of the hips. IT bands down the side of the legs, lateral knees, lateral legs, the peroneus muscle in the lateral legs, lower legs, outer ankles, and down to the toes, the fourth digit. And finally coming to the liver channel, big toe. Energy coming up the top of the foot. Shins, inner knee, inner thigh, pelvis, circling the genitalia, abdomen, and coming to rest the lower rib cage, where if we were to begin again, we'd start in the rib cage with the lungs. Let's just rest for a few more moments in breathing. Slowly inhale, slowly exhale. Peaceful mind.